How is everybody doing today? My name is Master Zero, and welcome back to another reaction video. This time we're reacting to We Have to Talk About Weed by In a Nutshell. Alright, so we have to talk about how I'm pretty sure Kurzgesagt has like a vendetta against me, or at the very least they watch my videos, because like every time I'm trying to like catch up during Science Month, you know, they seem to be kicking into overdrive with their upload schedule, and I talked about how I finally quit my bad habit, which is smoking weed, and they decide to make a video about it. So like, all jokes aside, like this should be very, very informative and insightful, because like, in all honesty, I really want to know, because like, you know, being on both sides of the argument, like, oh, weed's good, oh, weed's terrible, like, I'm really fascinated to know what like science has to do with it, you know, like all the numbers and statistics and stuff, if it actually is healthy for you or not. You know, I know it's not good for you, but like I still argue that it is better than alcohol. So I'm very, very fascinated to get this going. So without any further ado, here's We Have to Talk About Weed. Been there, done that.
Has been vilified to a ridiculous degree
Holy
for
crap.
the last century.
Oh, when you put it that way, it looks negative.
Being decriminalized in more and more places around the world. It's just recently been legalized in Germany. And
really?
For very good
Germany?
reasons. Compared to legal drugs like alcohol,
I was just talking about that.
1 in 20 deaths just this year.
That's true.
Cannabis is pretty mild. So to justify harsh
like I said, man, you
punishment,
compare it to alcohol.
Its negative effects have been wildly overstated.
Overstated?
Naturally, there was a lot of pushback, and here's something went wrong.
You damn hippies.
If you followed the discourse
I used to be one of those. I mean, you could argue I still am.
You might have got the impression that weed has almost only
understand you're talking
and
weed.
few, if any, negative side effects. We ourselves contributed to that narrative. What made this worse is that criminalization made it very hard for scientists to
I felt
study
bad for the
cannabis,
people that are in
especially
jail
its
when it's
long-term
legal now.
effects.
Or illegal.
They faced
No, legal.
bureaucratic and legal hurdles, and studies often had to rely on small sample sizes. In the last few years, this finally started to
I found out
change,
a lot of
so
people
it's time
smoke it.
to bring new evidence to the discussion. And, well, it's not pretty.
Oh,
While
let's
weed
go.
is still much less
Or
harmful
not,
than
I don't know.
alcohol,
I'm still fence riding.
It does have a dark side. It is more addictive than we thought, and can have significant negative effects
Weed's
if you
not
use it
addictive.
long term.
I'm just addicted to
It
the feeling.
seems that, what are you doing?
I'm literally.
Before
How do
tell
you
us
know what
done,
I'm doing?
Please watch the video. To be crystal
Got
clear,
it.
we think prohibition doesn't
That
work.
wasn't
and
meta
cannabis
at
should
all.
be legal, but this also means that we need to treat it as what it is:
Are
a
those
drug with
what?
unique upsides
SpongeBob flowers.
and downsides. So let's take an
Scooby-Doo
honest
ghosts.
look at some of the latest research together.
We'll ignore the
Weed
medical.
is getting stronger and stronger.
That's an understatement, man.
Cannabis's magic juice
Especially the
is
vape version.
tetrahydrocannabinol, THC.
Oh, okay.
It
I
docks
never
on your
knew what that
cannabinoid
meant.
receptors, which
I knew the
affects
THC
various
part.
brain functions. THC activates some regions and calms down others, creating a fun cocktail of sensations. The more THC,
You're not helping that it's
the
a
more
negative.
intense the high.
You seem like
And
very
people
positive.
seem to be into higher highs, or at least this is what the market is providing.
Yeah, because that
In the
thing
US,
in your brain
Canada,
wants
and
more
Europe,
of it.
The concentration of THC
Just to get the same
in
amount of
legal
high.
and illegal cannabis products has more than doubled in the last few decades.
I'll say.
While ever more potent strains are bred, products like edibles or concentrates with more
edibles
than
are
60% THC
dangerous.
have become increasingly common. While
I had
the
like
share of
5
products
brownies
with
without
less than
realizing they were
15%
edibles.
THC has declined. Unfortunately, just about every problem weed creates gets worse at higher THC doses.
Obviously.
At the same time,
Too much of a good
more
thing
and
is a
more
bad
people
thing.
use weed.
It's literally the same.
In the US, more people consumed cannabis daily than alcohol for the first time in 2022.
That
In
shocked
Canada,
me, in all honesty.
26% of people 16 and older use it, up from 22%
Even
in
Canada?
2018. It's not possible to say if legalization is the reason for this, though, since studies are pretty inconsistent and vary massively.
I still think
between
it's
different
too
users.
soon to know,
In
you
some,
know?
consumption went
Just
up.
legalized
In others, it's
majority
stayed
of places,
stable,
almost
and
said
trend
everywhere.
to use more weed began in the early 90s and sped up in the 2000s, way earlier than legalization.
I blame
So
Snoop Dogg.
today, more
Wiz
people
Khalifa.
consume more weed than
Just
ever
kidding, I love
before
those
in
guys.
the last century, and it's the
Willie
strongest
Nelson.
it's ever been. What are we seeing as a result of this? Let's start with something that used to get you laughed out of the room: addiction. Weed addiction and withdrawal symptoms.
Yeah,
A
I've
big narrative
learned
about
real
weed
quick
is
what
that
all
it's
those
not
are.
addictive, or at least
Not all,
that
I'm
big of a
assuming.
deal. And for most people, this is true. Studies clearly show that the majority
moderation
handle it
is
well.
like a big
For
part
8
of it.
out of 10 using
That goes with
weed,
anything.
It's just a casual high and not problematic at all. About 2 in 10 users develop a cannabis use disorder, or CUD.
Good.
CUD has 11 different
Not the
symptoms,
stuff,
from
Kelsey.
the inability to stop
Oh,
when you've had
too
enough,
much.
to using it when you know
That was
will
me.
have negative
I didn't know when to
consequences,
stop.
to tolerance and withdrawal. They can all basically be reduced to you're doing it too often, even if it's bad for you, and it's less fun than it could be.
Yeah.
There are three
You start
major
getting,
risk
like,
factors
paranoid
here.
and all that.
The amount of THC, how
From
often
experience.
you consume, and your age when you start using cannabis.
I was
The
12.
more THC, the more
Probably
often,
bad.
and
I
the
did
younger
everything
you are
bad with
when you
weed.
start, the higher your risk. If you smoke too much weed too often, it will have negative impacts on your life.
That's like an
So,
alcoholic
if
without
this
a
is
drink.
you, toning it down a bit will make a big difference. 1 in 10 users
Or just, if
develops
you're
a
able to,
serious
stop cold
addiction.
turkey.
They usually consume daily, and their life is significantly impaired or held back
That's
because they
very
spend a lot of their
true.
time either using or recovering
And your
from
paycheck.
cannabis use. Since their brain is building a tolerance, they need increasingly high doses
Hey, I was talking
or
about that.
stronger weed, often both.
Yep.
Studies found a variety
Start
of
getting
negative
2 strands
effects.
of vapes and
Heavy
stuff like
users
that.
can experience
Dangerous
bad
slope.
moods, feel irritable, restless, paranoid, anxious, and even
Yes.
depressive.
All of those
In a
things.
sad
That's why I
twist of
stopped.
irony, for many addicts, it feels like they need weed to fight these symptoms. Maybe it did actually help at first, while in
Yeah,
reality,
okay.
it makes those symptoms stronger and more persistent. Studies also
Man, spit
found that
knowledge.
loneliness
I knew
and
I was on the
frequent
right track.
cannabis use go
Now.
hand in hand. If you feel lonely, you're more likely to use weed, and if you use weed, you may experience more loneliness. It's not always easy to say which
Yin and
came
yang, if you
first,
will.
but they seem to reinforce each other. So,
then
on
you
the
realize
one
people
hand,
just want you for
cannabis
the weed.
makes loneliness feel much less bad. On the other hand, it can also make you feel more socially awkward than you actually are, and withdraw
Yeah, I
from
start talking to
friends.
more people.
This could
Even
lead
strangers.
to a downward spiral that ends in self-isolation and chronic loneliness. Another
Yes,
thing many
that's
people
what I
who
was talking
consume
about in my
not
post.
experience is a mental numbness that makes boredom feel okay because it impacts the reward system of your brain. Not great, but good enough. You can spend your days killing time binging mildly interesting stuff,
Oh man, this is
being
hitting close to
numb
home.
rather than having fun. Boredom is a signal to your mind to get creative or learn something new, but this is suppressed. This also makes quitting so much harder.
That's why my
because
thumbnails
your
have gotten
daily
dramatically
routines suddenly
increased.
seem boring
Better.
and
That
unexciting,
didn't make sense.
making it very tempting to go back. If you find yourself using constantly, this can also stunt your development as a person. The numbness dulls bad feelings, making it easy not to deal with them. But in life, you can only get over bad feelings if you actually feel them, and you have to process them to grow. Lastly, let's talk about physical withdrawal.
Lastly
symptoms.
already?
The more you consume, the
Getting
worse
into
they'll
this
be
video.
for you, especially
For obvious
if
reasons.
you use daily. Withdrawal can cause headaches, sweating or chills, decreased appetite,
Yep,
in
been through
severe
that.
cases, even
I'm
fever,
so glad I finally
nausea,
passed
and
all that, man.
abdominal
I feel
pain.
better than I've
You might
ever
have trouble
been.
falling asleep, and if you do, you might have disturbing and vivid dreams.
Oh my
The
god!
withdrawal
I don't
can
remember
put
any
you
of my
in a
dreams when I was
depressive
high.
mood where life feels daft and pointless. You can feel
That could
restless,
be why.
angry, anxious, or nervous. You may feel unable to do anything at all.
Yeah.
After a few days, these symptoms will begin to subside, and after a few weeks, they'll be gone entirely.
Hey.
The exact time depends
when I
on
finally
how much
went through
and how
that,
long
man.
you've been consuming cannabis. Now,
Mine
let's
took like
get to
a
the worst
month or two.
part.
I just spitballing here.
may damage your brain.
Hopefully
This
not permanently.
section was not fun to research.
I'm actually getting my memory
because
back and
there's
stuff.
fierce
It's
debate
crazy,
among
man.
researchers how
Remembering
bad
stuff when I was
weed is for
5.
your brain, and whether it has
Ninja stars.
irreversible long-term consequences or not.
Oh.
There's no consensus yet,
Oh,
and it's
thank
hard
you.
to say anything definitive. Having said that, THC
Oh my
directly
God.
interferes with critical brain
It's just
chemistry.
Bane?
There is some evidence that it may alter its structure.
Oh.
If it does, this may go away again if you quit after a few years, or
Okay.
not. We
I just
don't
need a
know
year.
yet. The consequences
Or not, I
vary
guess.
a lot between individuals.
I
but
mean, I
especially
respect
for heavy
Kurzgesagt for
users,
not just
they have
telling
a
us, you know?
variety
It's
of
like, we don't know.
potentially unfunny downsides. The most common
Just
one
forgetting
is
everything.
that your memory gets significantly worse.
Yep.
Sustained heavy use may
It's funny I
reduce
talk
your
about my
ability to
instance
learn,
before they even
your
talk about it.
reasoning, perception, attention span, decision making, language abilities, and impulse control. Most negative effects seem to go away, or at least weaken over time after you quit. But again,
Okay,
we
some
simply
positivity.
don't know enough and need
See
more
that light
research.
at the end of the tunnel?
Where the evidence is much clearer is that
Get high.
consuming a lot of weed is really bad for teenagers on multiple levels. If you start using heavily early, you have many more years
Again,
to
when I
build
was
up
12.
potentially negative side effects.
Oh.
Teens who use a lot are much more likely to become addicted to weed. This may just be correlation and weed may not be the underlying cause, but heavy weed users are more likely to perform poorly in school and less likely to finish their education. They are,
Yeah, I
on
just
average,
rode down
less
Easy Street,
satisfied
man.
with their
C's and
life and
B's. I
what
was like,
they've
I'm gonna go in
achieved.
the middle.
This may simply be because if your memory and motivation are stunted, you have fewer interesting experiences and forget the ones you do have.
I might actually be a
And there is
cartoonist. I
strong
went to college
evidence
and
that
dropped out
teen
because of
users
this.
are way more likely to develop mental health
Oh
issues
my God.
like psychosis,
It's always a bigger fish.
schizophrenia, depression, or anxiety later in life.
You say schizophrenia?
Once again, the younger you start, the higher the risk. And it also seems to rise massively with high THC
Begone,
doses,
Satan!
making highly potent cannabis products even more dangerous for teens. Okay,
Those don't
let's
kick in
wrap
until
this up.
hours later, man.
We've only focused on the
Let's
negative
wrap
sides
it
in
up.
this
I get it.
video.
Wordplay.
That was the whole point.
Oh,
As
man.
we said before,
From an
for most
outside
people,
looking in,
weed
man, I can't
moderation is
believe I
totally
lived like
fine
that.
and
Yes, I
definitely
did live
way
like
less
that.
harmful than alcohol.
Pretty much to a T of what the
You do
illustration
you.
shows.
We're not your parents. The upside of moderation
I love
is
that.
also that when you
So
do
you
it,
do you,
your
man. We're just telling you the
experience will be
facts.
more intense and special. But for teens, weed, especially using it regularly or a lot of it, is a
If
bad
you could
idea,
reach it.
with potentially life-changing consequences. We know that criminalization did nothing to make this better.
Yeah.
We now have a new chance under legalization. It begins with being open and honest
Ooh,
about
what
the
is
safe
that,
science
heroin?
and acknowledging that weed is one drug among many others.
That's
Certainly
very
not the
true.
worst one by a long shot. but
Yeah,
also
it's like, it's not the
problematic for at
worst.
least 1 to 3
apparently it's
out
still
of 10
bad.
people using it.
Hey.
If you really have to try cannabis, there is a time and place, and that's in your 20s. If you're younger, the science is clear. Don't
Yeah,
do
I
it.
do be bad,
At
man. I
least
was 12.
Not yet. You'll have plenty of time to experiment later.
So you could do it, just do it in
Let's do a
moderation and
different
don't do it when you're too
experiment now.
young, man.
With the help
Everything
of
I
today's
didn't
sponsor,
do.
Odoo, a business
Ooh,
management
Odoo?
software, you can do the first step
I
of
never heard of
starting
you.
a new business in 3 minutes. Don't believe me? I bet you 5 ducks, and you and
I only have
will
one
do
of
it
those, good
together.
sir.
You can try Odoo
I think you're
for
a duck.
free
Are you a
by
duck?
clicking this button here. The first application stays free forever with unlimited hosting and support.
Huh.
Let's select the website application to ensure our online presence. Then you just follow the website configurator in 4 easy steps.
Only
First,
4
what kind of
steps?
website do you want to create?
Entertainment.
It could be a business website, a blog, an event website. I'll put down learning platform. because why
Obviously.
not? Next, what kind of business
That's
or
what you guys are
project
all
do you
about,
have,
man.
and what's your goal? I'd say science edutainment. Step 2
Oh,
is
this
my
is cool,
favorite.
man.
What colors do you like?
Oh, yes.
Simply upload your logo and an AI will suggest a matching
Yeah.
color palette. In
Hopefully it's
step
a tiny
3,
AI.
You pick the
Just
different
talk about how
pages
bad
you
those
need
are.
right now. In step 4, you just choose a template for your website. That's it. You did the first big step. You
Let's
own
go.
5 ducks and you're
I
ready
don't
to
have
start
5
your
ducks, I
business.
told you, sir.
But Odoo offers
didn't
so
shake
much
your
more.
hand.
Applications such as accounting, project management, HR, all the needs of
Oh,
your
this seems
business
really, really
centralized on
just
one
helpful.
single platform. You can focus on your
And pretty much
project
needed, man.
while
I tried to
Odoo
make my
improves
website, man. I was just
productivity
like,
and
no.
adapts along with your needs and demands.
Gave up on that.
The most impact you can have on your dream within 3 minutes. Just try it out.
That's great. Only 3 minutes and 4 steps. That's blowing my
Our
mind, man.
latest drop
Whoa.
collection has arrived.
Let's
Order now,
go.
just in time for the holidays. We here at
kinda want that
Kurzgesagt
ugly sweater,
are
I'm
known
not gonna
to
lie.
cause some light existential dread from time to time.
A little bit.
But the truth is, we actually do it to
Showing the
inspire
signs
you.
of it.
So we designed these
I take it
products
as
to do
inspiration, in all
both.
honesty. You always seem to turn it
The universe
positive.
can
Except
sometimes
that bomb
feel
one.
like a cold and foreign place. But that's not true. The
Hey.
universe is our home.
Yes.
This knit sweater will keep you warm
That's
and
the
cozy
sweater I was talking
while
about.
reminding you that you're just as much a part of the universe as a black hole
Oh,
or a
that is
neutron
glorious.
star. Dread
are here.
and awe are actually 2 sides of the same coin.
Yin and yang, man. I can talk
Scarf.
about that all the
Wear
time. I
this
want
super
it.
soft scarf on cold winter walks and bring some light into the dark season.
That is beautiful.
And at the core of
And
this
informative.
lineup is the optimistic nihilist T-shirt.
Superman!
It represents nothing less
Does it actually
than the
move?
philosophy of Kurzgesagt. You may only get one shot at life, which is scary, but it also
Yeah.
sets you free to do
YOLO.
what truly makes you happy in life.
anyone even say that
We
anymore?
also create other truly special products in our studio.
Yeah, I love
like
the
new
art,
edition
man.
of our Human Era calendar.
Oh, yes.
In 12,025, we'll follow humanity's greatest journey that took our ancestors from East Africa all across the planet.
It's so cool
We
to
spent
have
a lot
that.
of
Just
time
the illustrations hanging up on your wall, man.
crafting
And
epic
it's
illustrations
useful. It's a
worthy of
calendar.
representing this integral part of our shared history. Add a brand new weekly
brain is
desk planner
stupid.
to be extra prepared for the next year
Hey.
and this gift-giving season.
Oh, I
Every
might
single
actually
product you
buy that.
supports
I'm not gonna
everything
lie.
we do on this channel,
Busting out
and
the
enables
duck.
us to release our videos for free for everyone.
Hell yeah.
Thank you so much.
Again,
for
I say
your
this every time,
support.
but y'all guys are doing God's
Kurzgesagt
work.
would not exist without you.
I love their products. Do I hear a whine? Ah! Tried to time it right. Oh man, that was very informative, going back to the video. Alright, so it's really, really cool how I kind of accidentally chose the right path, which, like, trying to quit a bad habit of any caliber, that's a good thing in my opinion. You're at least the steps in the right direction, you know? So, like, this video kind of, like, reassured me that, like, hey, you're doing a good job, man, you know? Like, trying to quit weed altogether, like, even though, like, you can argue that, kind of like they were talking about, you know, like, after you hit, like, past 20, you know, you could do it in moderation, which you could do, like, anything in moderation, like eating anything in moderation, as long as it's just a little bit at a time. It's not just, like, how I did it, man, like, nuts to butts, like, just smoking 24/7, you know? Like, the only time I didn't smoke was when I was, like, recording myself, obviously, because y'all guys didn't see it, but, like, it's so crazy to have this, like I said, man, it, like, gives you the perspective that I needed, like, to, like, reassure myself, you know? It's just really, really wacky to think about, like, how this video really, really ties into my real life, like, especially, like, so soon. Like, I'm reacting to Kurzgesagt for Science Month, and I just happened to quit smoking weed. Like, all of it, like, connects, coexisting, whatever you want to call it, like, divine intervention, like, something happened, man. It's, like, boggling my brain, like, for a different reason. It usually boggles my brain the topic of the video, but this one I had, like, a little bit more knowledge, I guess. Like, it's just, what do they call it? Just
2 hours later.
I forgot the name. I was literally sitting here for I don't know how long trying to think of it. But anyway, like, it's just so freaking crazy having these types of videos that, like, I don't want to say they're personal because, like, obviously, how do they know who I am? Like, I'm tiny compared to them. But, like, it's still, like, somehow something, some way happened. And, like, I'm really, really thankful for them to do this video because, like, in all honesty, I still had questions. Like I said at the very beginning, you know, like, it is bad, but it's not as bad as alcohol, in my opinion, still. Like, even though I'm not gonna use it anymore. But to each his own, you know? Like they said, I'm not your dad or I'm not your parents, but long story short, man, this was phenomenal. Like, I really love videos like this where it's like, okay, just one exact subject, marijuana, and let's talk about the bads or the goods or, like, what it actually is, you know? Because the Kurzgesagt is always about that, man. Like they said in the video, you know, the huge examples that they always show is just like, okay, well, like, we don't know this, so we're not gonna tell you the numbers because it's unknowing, you know? So, in my opinion, we need, like, a little bit more time. Like, especially with the freaking vape and stuff like that. Like, that's way new stuff, like, to inhale THC and stuff like that. So, all in all, fantastic, man. I love these videos. So, thank you, everybody, so much for watching. Leave a like down below, subscribe, ring the bell, become a member. You get videos daily, and check out the merch. So, with that said, I have been Master Zero. You guys have been fantastic, and I'll see y'all in the next episode. Later, days.